Have you ever felt like you're giving everything you've got, working hard, pushing through challenges, yet no one really sees you? No praise, no recognition, not even a look of understanding. Just you and a quiet journey that sometimes makes you wonder, does anyone even know how hard I'm trying? But let me tell you this, true success doesn't need noise. Like a seed buried deep in the ground, no one hears it growing. But one day, the entire garden will bow when it blooms. Your silence today isn't a sign of being forgotten. It's the gathering of strength. Those who talk the most often haven't started. Those who are truly building are too busy to speak. I've seen so many people do the opposite. They announce, they brag, they want to be seen. And when time tests them, their words disappear faster than the wind. Because sound doesn't create value, results do. Remember this, silence is the mark of focus, and results are the only voice worth trusting. Success doesn't need your explanation, your proof, or your validation. It only needs your consistent, deep, and honest work. And one day, when people ask, where did he go? The world will answer for you. He wasn't talking, he was working. And now he's at the top. That's why in today's video, I'll share with you 10 principles to turn silence into strength so success can speak for you. And stay until the end, because Principle #7 will show you why your silence today might be the loudest sound of your success tomorrow. Part 1, the seed of success germinates in silence. There's one thing I learned early in life. Every greatness begins in silence, like a tiny seed buried deep in the soil. No one sees it, no one hears it grow. But beneath the dark earth, in total stillness, something extraordinary is happening. Life begins to move. Success works the same way. It doesn't sprout under applause, it isn't born under the spotlight, and it doesn't grow from praise. Success is born in silence, nurtured by discipline, and strengthened by time. You see, a seed cannot grow and boast at the same time. It can't say, look at me, I'm about to become a great tree. If it did, it would waste the energy meant for its roots. And people are no different. When we talk too much about what we're going to do, we lose focus on actually doing it. I've met many people with incredible plans. They talk about dreams, projects, and the success they will have, yet year after year, those dreams stay on their lips, never in their lives. Why? Because they spend more energy showing off than building up. A farmer doesn't tell the whole village he just planted seeds. He just gets down to the soil, works, waters, waits, and believes. Because he knows every great thing needs time in the dark before it can rise into the light. Your success is the same. It needs a season of silence to grow deep roots. I remember when I was young, I was desperate for recognition. I talked about my goals, my plans, my ambitions, but the more I talked, the further I drifted. Then I realized, those who talk the most are often the ones delaying their own actions. Silence forced me to face myself to do, not talk, and that's when I began to grow. Silence doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means you're being prepared. When life feels unusually quiet, maybe God or the universe is testing your patience to see if you're willing to grow roots before you bloom. I once asked a bonsai artist, how do you make your trees so strong and beautiful? He smiled and said, the secret lies in what no one sees, the roots. Quote. And that's when I understood. In life, the part people don't see is often the most important. So if today you're working quietly, don't feel alone. If no one praises you, that's fine. If no one recognizes your effort, even better, because that silence is the perfect space for your growth, for your roots to deepen. So when you finally rise, you won't just be a sapling. You'll be a tree that stands firm against every storm. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Oh, don't wish for an easier path, wish for more strength. And that strength is forged in those quiet, unseen days without applause. Trust me, every winter ends, and when spring arrives, the world will finally see what you've been growing in silence. Today, what are you planting in silence that a year from now will make the world take notice? Part 2, the wise don't talk about plans, they act. There's something fascinating about people who truly get things done. They talk less, not because they have nothing to say, but because they're too busy turning their words into reality. Have you ever noticed that the people who talk the most often act the least? They love to share about the project they're about to start, the business they're planning, or the dream they'll begin someday. But year after year, those same projects, dreams, and plans remain exactly where they began, on their lips, never in life. Don't tell people your plans. Show them your results. I once made that same mistake. When I was young, every time I had a new idea, I would immediately tell my friends, my family, anyone who would listen. I felt proud saying, I'm about to do something big. But over time, I realized that every time I spoke too soon, my motivation weakened a little. You see, when you talk too early, your brain tricks you into thinking you've already accomplished something. It gives you a short burst of satisfaction, and you lose the pressure to act. Wise people understand this. They don't speak to be heard, they act to be seen. They know that every great voice must first be proven through small, consistent actions. There's a story I love about a marathon runner. When he signed up for his first race, his friends laughed. "You'll never finish 26 miles!" He didn't respond. He just kept running every morning at 5 a.m., rain or shine. 6 months later, he crossed the finish line to the cheers of thousands. And still, he said nothing. He simply smiled. Because he didn't need praise, his results spoke for him. That's the mindset of a true winner. They don't need an audience while they're working, because they know the stage will open naturally for those disciplined enough to reach it. If you're serious about your goals, stop talking about them so much. Every time you share your plan, you're releasing energy outward instead of keeping it for action. Hold your goals like a quiet flame inside. Let it burn steadily until the time is right to reveal it. When you look back at history, you'll notice something. Those who changed the world rarely made noise. Edison didn't live stream his light bulb experiments. Steve Jobs didn't announce every time he tested a new idea. They worked in silence, and only when their work was ready did the world see the light. Someone once asked me, "Jim, should I tell people about my business plan?" I told him, only if you've already started. If not, stay silent, because talking without action only drains your credibility and your energy. You see, wise people don't need to prove themselves with words. They prove themselves with results. They don't say, "I'm on the right track." Their success says, "He made it." Cool. How many times have you talked about a dream you've never truly started? And if you stop talking today, would you have the courage to finally act? When you begin to truly act, you'll realize silence isn't weakness or modesty. It's a mark of focus. Now, let's move on to the next principle. Part 3, silence is the sign of focus. Have you ever noticed that when someone is deeply focused, they become silent? Not because they're arrogant, not because they're distant, but because every bit of their energy is flowing toward one direction, finishing what truly matters. I once witnessed this in an old friend of mine, a musician. He used to talk endlessly about fame, stages, and audiences. But the last time I saw him, he barely spoke. He just sat with his guitar, playing the same short passage again and again for hours. When I asked, "What are you doing?" he smiled and said, "I no longer practice to perform, Jim. I practice to perfect myself." And that's when I realized that's real growth. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's the state of deep concentration. In today's noisy world full of social media, news, ads, and notifications, very few people still possess the calm to sit quietly and focus on one thing for hours. We live in an era where noise has become a fake measure of value. People think, if I don't post, talk, or show off, I'm falling behind. But the truth is the opposite. Those who stay silent are often the ones moving farthest. When you're truly focused, you don't need to explain. When you're truly building, you don't have time to brag. Unfocused people talk to get attention. Focused people know that attention doesn't create success. Consistent action does. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And you can't have discipline if your mind is constantly noisy. Focus requires inner quiet, a space where you can hear your own voice uninterrupted by the noise of the world. I remember one of my students, a young woman, very talented but easily distracted. She came to me and said, "Jim, I have dozens of ideas, but none of them work out." I asked, "How many full days have you devoted to each idea?" She went silent, then said, "Probably less than 3. I told her, "Pick one thing, focus on it for 90 days. No posting, no boasting, no talking, just do it." 3 months later, she came back glowing. She had finished her first real project, and her entire life began to change simply because she learned to be silent and focus. Focus doesn't mean shutting out the world. It means choosing what truly deserves your attention, like sunlight. when it spreads everywhere, it only warms. But when concentrated through a lens, it burns. Your power works the same way. When concentrated, it becomes unstoppable. So if you find yourself becoming quieter lately, don't worry. You're not disconnected, you're going deeper. While others are busy talking about success, you're building it. While they seek attention, you seek progress. While they're still discussing plans, you're already halfway there. Let your silence be the space where your focus blooms. Don't let the world pull you into its noise, because the ones who truly make a difference are always the ones quietly working in peace. If you could focus on only one thing for the next 90 days, what would it be? And when you're truly focused, you'll realize you don't need to talk much anymore, because your results will speak for you. Now, let's move on to the next principle. Let your results speak louder than words. Al, par quatre. Let your results speak for you. I once heard a powerful quote. When you succeed, you don't need an introduction. Your results will do that for you. And you know what? That's absolutely true. In life, every word can be doubted, but results cannot. You can say 1,000 times that you're working hard, that you're changing, that you're building something great. But if your actions don't prove it, it's just noise. The world doesn't listen to promises. It believes in proof. And results are the greatest proof of all. I once had a young student, bright, passionate, full of potential. But he had one habit. He talked before he acted. He often posted on social media about the projects he was about to start and the goals he was about to achieve. But year after year, nothing changed. One day, I asked him, "Have you ever realized that every time you speak about something you haven't finished, you're stealing your own belief?" He went silent. And from that day, he stopped talking and started working. 3 years later, I received an email from him. No subject line, no long message. Just a photo, him standing on stage, holding a trophy for his startup. Below it, one short sentence. "Sir, I let my results speak for me now." I smiled, because that's the essence of success. Quiet, persistent, and then suddenly undeniable. You don't have to tell people you're changing. If you truly are, they'll feel it. You don't have to prove that you're capable. If you really are, the world will recognize it. And you don't have to convince anyone that you're on the right path. Your results will be the undeniable evidence. Work hard on yourself, and your success will make the noise. I love this metaphor. A flower doesn't advertise its beauty. It simply blooms and the world finds it. You're the same. If you do your work well enough, your results will spread naturally. You don't need a microphone or a spotlight. You only need genuine quality in what you do every day. Success isn't what you say, it's the echo of what you've done. When you work deep enough, true enough, long enough, your results become the most honest reflection of who you are. So instead of asking, "When will others recognize me?" ask yourself, "How can I create results so undeniable that no one can ignore them?" Pour all your energy into that. Don't waste time explaining. Don't waste effort proving. Let your life become living proof. When you walk into a room, you shouldn't need to tell anyone who you are. Your results will say it for you. That's how successful people live. They don't say, "I will do." They speak through their eyes, their actions, their achievements, saying, "I did." And here's the beautiful truth. When you let your results speak, people listen twice as hard. Because the voice of success doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real, deep, and lasting. If you weren't allowed to talk about your goals anymore, how would you prove that you're truly making progress? But there's one more thing you must understand. Silence doesn't mean weakness. In fact, only the truly strong can remain calm amid the noise. Let's move to the next principle. Silence isn't weakness, it's confidence. Part 5. Silence isn't weakness, it's confidence. Today, people often confuse silence with weakness and loudness with strength. They think the louder someone speaks, the stronger they are. The more someone shows off, the more confident they must be. But the truth is the opposite. The truly strong don't need noise to prove themselves. I remember the first time I met Earl Schoaf, the man who changed my life. He wasn't flashy. He didn't talk much. He didn't dominate the room. But the moment he walked in, everything changed. The energy shifted. Everyone could feel the quiet certainty he carried. No introductions, no effort to impress, just a calm presence that made everyone listen. And I learned something profound that day. The silence of the strong is not the absence of voice. It's the presence of enough strength not to need one. You can shout loudly to be heard, but if you truly have value, you only need to look, smile, and keep working. Silence, when you know your worth, is the highest form of confidence. The weak talk to fill their emptiness. The strong stay silent because they have nothing to prove. They know who they are. They know what they're doing, and they know time will reveal their worth. I once coached a group of young entrepreneurs. One of them always tried to stand out constantly, talking about achievements, goals, and what he was going to accomplish. Another one, quiet, calm, reserved, barely spoke, barely posted, just worked. 3 years later, the loud one disappeared from the market. The silent one became the leader of his industry. When I asked him his secret, he said simply, "I don't need to prove, I just need to move." The world today worships noise, people showing off, arguing, seeking validation, but it's in stillness that true confidence is born. When you no longer feel the need to prove anything to others, that's when you begin proving something to yourself. Be strong, but not rude. Be humble, but not timid. Real strength isn't being the loudest person in the room. It's being the calmest when everyone else loses control. Silence is the mark of emotional mastery, because the greatest reaction isn't a word, it's restraint. The more confident you are, the less you need to prove. The confident don't say, "I'm right." They let time show they're right. The confident don't say, "I'll succeed." They let results show that they already have. Remember this, a lion doesn't need to roar all day to remind others it's the king. It stays silent, yet every creature knows its place. Because true power doesn't come from volume, it comes from essence. So if people doubt you, if someone doesn't believe in your path, don't rush to explain, don't argue back. Just stay silent, keep working, and let time respond for you. Let your silence be the background music so that one day the applause will thunder for what you've built. Are you trying to prove something to others instead of proving to yourself that you can actually do it? And once you understand the strength of quiet confidence, you'll realize action is the most powerful language of all. Let's move on to the next principle. Action is the language of winners. Quote, part 6. Action is the language of winners. There's a language the world always understands no matter where you're from, what you speak, or what era you live in. It's the language of action. Winners don't need to say, "I'll try." They act in a way that makes everyone else say, "He did it." No speech is needed, no grand declarations. Action is the strongest declaration of all. I once knew a man named Tom who worked in sales. When he started, he was quiet, reserved, nobody noticed him. Others were louder, more confident, always flaunting their numbers. But Tom just smiled, nodded, and went back to his desk. He made one more call, met one more client, closed one more small deal. No one paid attention until the company's year-end review, and his name was at the top of the leaderboard, far ahead of the rest. I asked him, "Tom, what's your secret?" He said, "I let them talk. I let my results talk for me." That's the power of action. Talking is easy, doing is hard. Anyone can talk about dreams. Very few will sweat to make them real. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day." Winners understand this. You don't need to be better than everyone, you just need to act more than everyone. When you act, you send a message to the universe, "I'm ready." And when the universe believes you're ready, it clears a path. Winners don't wait for inspiration. They create inspiration through movement. Energy doesn't come from thinking, it comes from the first action. The more you act, the more motivation you have. The more you delay, the more you lose faith in yourself. I've met many smart people who never succeed, not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack consistent action. They research, plan, analyze, calculate, and stop. Meanwhile, others, maybe not as clever, start. And when they start, they learn. When they learn, they improve. When they improve, they win. It's not the most talented who win. It's the ones who start first and don't stop. Winners don't ask, "How can I guarantee success?" They ask, "What's the first step?" And they take it even before they feel ready. They know action doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be real. One real step is worth more than 1,000 beautiful words. You can talk about a dream in 5 minutes, but you'll need 5 years of action to make it real. And during those 5 years, the world will be quiet, no applause. But if you keep going, when the lights finally come on, the applause will be louder than any praise you ever chased. You cannot hire someone else to do your push-ups for you. That's the truth. No one can act for you. No one can train, study, or be disciplined for you. You must stand up and do it yourself. Action is the only language life truly understands. You can't say, I want happiness. You have to live in a way that creates it. You can't say, I want success. You have to act like someone who succeeds. Life doesn't pay for wishes, it pays for action. What have you been talking about for too long but still haven't started? And if you began today with just one small action, how would your life change? And once you truly begin to act, you'll notice something. Silence not only sharpens your focus, it makes you hear more. Let's move on to the next principle. When you stop talking, you hear more. Part 7. When you stop talking, you hear more. There's a skill few people practice, but it's a clear sign of maturity. Listening in silence. Today's world is full of people who want to speak, but very few who truly want to listen. Everyone wants to share, debate, and prove they're right, but not many have the patience to stay quiet and observe. Learn to be still. Learn to listen. That's where wisdom lives. Only when you stop talking do you begin to hear what matters most. The voices of others, the voice of the world, and most importantly, the voice within. I once worked with a remarkable leader. In meetings, he was often the quietest person in the room. While others argued, he sat still, took notes, and listened. Sometimes he stayed silent for 30 minutes. Then he would speak just one sentence, and everyone fell silent. Because one sentence from a careful observer is worth more than 100 from a hasty talker. He once told me, Jim, I don't learn anything while I'm talking. I only learn when I listen. That lesson stayed with me for life. Wise people don't need the spotlight. They know that knowledge isn't in speaking, it's in receiving. Silence isn't just humility, it's a tool for shaping wisdom. Look closely and you'll see great people, from artists to entrepreneurs to athletes, share one trait. They listen more than they speak. They listen to feedback from reality, from mistakes, from life itself. They watch how the world works, and that observation helps them understand deeper and go farther. When I was younger, I had the habit of reacting quickly in conversation. Whatever someone said, I had to answer to prove I understood, to prove I was right. But the more I talked, the more I realized I wasn't learning anything because I was speaking more than I was listening. When I finally paused, when I truly began to listen, everything changed. I heard the fear in someone's voice. I noticed the lessons hidden in ordinary stories. And most importantly, I began to hear my own true voice, the one that had been drowned out by the world's noise. Someone once asked me, Jim, how do I know I'm on the right path? I answered, stay silent long enough to hear whether your heart is at peace. Wisdom doesn't arrive in noise, it arrives in stillness. When you're silent, you have time to observe. And observation is the first step to understanding. You see what works, what doesn't, and what must change. In those quiet moments, you realign your direction. Silence helps you hear not only people, but reality. It helps you recognize who is truly trustworthy, what truly matters, and where you're actually headed. The world may talk a lot, but often the quiet ones understand the deepest because they don't just listen with their ears, they listen with their heart. And from that listening, they act more precisely, more intelligently, more effectively. When was the last time you truly sat still, no talking, no overthinking, just listening to yourself? And once you've learned to listen instead of speak, you'll grasp an even deeper principle. Success doesn't come from seeking validation. It comes from creating real value. Now let's move on to the next principle. Don't seek approval, create value. Part 8, don't seek recognition, create value. There's a mistake many people make on their journey to success. They focus on recognition instead of value. We're raised in a world obsessed with attention. How many followers you have, how many likes you get, how many people know your name. And slowly people start measuring their self-worth by how others see them. Don't wish to be recognized, wish to be worth recognizing. I fell into that trap once. When I was young, I wanted people to notice me. I wanted them to praise me, to see my effort, to acknowledge my hard work. And then one day, I realized I was living to please others instead of improving myself. Because when you chase recognition, you lose the freedom to grow. You start doing things to be accepted, not because they're right. You change yourself to be liked, not to become better. But here's the truth. People don't remember those who try to be liked. They remember those who created real value. Think of an old tree. It doesn't grow fast, it's not flashy, it doesn't attract attention right away. But year after year, it gives shade, bears fruit, and quietly supports the entire village. That's true value. It doesn't need recognition, yet everyone benefits from it. Successful people never ask, how can I make them notice me? They ask, how can I make things better for them? They don't chase recognition. They create value so undeniable that people can't ignore it. Take Steve Jobs, for example. When he returned to Apple in 1997, he didn't say, I'll make the world know my name. He said, I'll create products that the world will notice. And he did. Because recognition isn't the goal, it's the natural result of value. Recognition is temporary. Value is eternal. Applause may last 10 seconds, but real value can live on for decades after you're gone. Success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted by the person you become. When you become valuable, success, opportunities, and recognition will come to you. You won't have to chase them, they'll be drawn to you. Because the world always listens to those who bring something useful. So stop chasing attention. Instead, ask yourself every day, who did I help today? What useful thing did I create? In what way did I become better? These are the 3 questions I ask myself every morning. And over time, I realized, when you focus on contribution, you no longer have to worry about recognition. Let your value speak for you. If you help people, they'll remember. If you bring real benefit, you'll never be forgotten. Recognition is the reward, but value is the legacy. Are you doing it to be recognized or to create something truly valuable? And if you focused on value today, how would your life change? And when you stay consistent in creating value every day, you'll realize you no longer need to introduce yourself, because true success will introduce you. Let's move on to the next principle. When the time is right, success will introduce you. Kund. Part 9. When the time is right, success will introduce you. There's a truth few people understand. You don't need to rush to be seen. If you're doing the right thing, walking the right path, and staying consistent long enough, your time will come. The seasons will come as they always do. Life works the same way. It has its own rhythm. And success is a season. It arrives only when you've planted enough seeds, nurtured your roots, and stayed patient through the storms. Not earlier, not later. I once knew a young painter. He painted every single day, but no one knew his name. No galleries, no press, no buyers. Still, he kept going year after year. His friends told him to stop. They don't even see your effort, they said. But he just smiled and answered, I don't need them to see me today. I just need my work to be good enough for them to find it tomorrow. And one day, an art collector happened to see one of his paintings in a small cafe. From that moment, everything changed. He was invited to exhibit, interviewed, and recognized. But the beautiful part, he still painted exactly the same way. The only difference was his season had arrived. Success introduced him. You see, we're often in a hurry to be seen, to be acknowledged, while life has its own schedule. You can't force a flower to bloom before its season. All you can do is take care of it while you wait. The wise don't ask, when will it be my turn? They ask, will I be ready when my turn comes? Because the truth is your moment will come, but only those who are prepared will be able to keep it. Look around. Many people are handed great opportunities, but they lose them because they weren't ready. Opportunities come and go, but the ones who stay disciplined, humble, and persistent, they don't just open the door when opportunity knocks. They walk through it with confidence. Don't worry about when it will happen. Just keep doing the work, and when it's time, it will happen. The beauty of life is this. If you stay consistent long enough, you won't need to promote yourself. Success will do it for you. People will talk about you, mention you, quote you, because your work speaks louder than your words ever could. I once told a student, you don't need to shout that you're changing. Just keep working long enough so that when you walk into a room, people will ask, what did he do to become like that? That's when you know success has introduced you. So if you're working quietly today and no one knows, no one praises you, don't worry. You're in your season of preparation. Keep going. Be patient, be honest, do your best, because one day You won't have to say a thing. The world will speak for you. When your time comes, every door will open at once. You won't need to knock. Success will introduce you to the right ones. If success knocked on your door tomorrow, would you truly be ready to step out and receive it? And when you finally understand that everything happens in its time, you'll slow down, focusing not on making noise, but on leaving a lasting mark. Let's move on to the final principle. Leave a legacy, not footprints in the sand. Part 10. Leave a mark, not footprints in the sand. I once heard a quote that stayed with me for years. Everyone leaves footprints, but only those who live with purpose leave a mark. And the longer I live, the more I realize the world doesn't remember what people said. It remembers what they did. Some people spend their entire lives making noise, talking about plans, dreams, and the success they're about to achieve. Quote, and when they're gone, nothing remains but a faint echo in the wind. But then there are others, quiet workers who don't talk much, don't seek attention. They focus on creating value, helping others, and doing what's right. And when they're gone, their mark remains in people's hearts, in the work they left behind, and the lives they touched. We all die, but not everyone truly lives. That quote made me ask myself, what am I leaving behind a mark, or just a few footprints in the sand? Because footprints are easily washed away by the waves, but a mark carved through action, character, and value lasts forever. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs people who leave something meaningful behind. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Maybe it's a word of encouragement that helps someone rise again. A small act of kindness that makes another person's day easier. Or simply living as an example of discipline, integrity, and compassion. That is leaving a mark. I remember an old carpenter I once met. He worked for over 40 years, and no one knew his name. He didn't work for praise or fame. He simply wanted every house he built to stand strong over time. When he passed away, people discovered that hundreds of his homes were still standing solid after decades of storms and rain. No one remembered his face, but families were still living inside his legacy. That's the mark of a life that mattered. You see, leaving a mark doesn't come from fame. It comes from the quality of what you do every day. You don't need thousands of people to know your name. You only need a few who were changed because you existed. And that's enough. Because a meaningful life isn't measured by the volume of your echo, but by the depth of your impact. The greatest gift you can give to someone is your example. Let the way you live, the way you work, and the way you handle challenges become a living example for someone else. Don't seek applause today. Live so that people speak your name with gratitude tomorrow. True success isn't about what you achieve, it's about what you leave behind. Not fame, but influence. Not wealth, but value. Not noise, but legacy. And when your journey finally ends, you won't need to say, I was successful, because your mark will speak for you. If tomorrow you had no more time to speak another word, what mark would you want to leave on this world today? Remember, you don't need to say much. Just do the right thing. Do it well. Do it every day. And success will speak for itself. Let your life be living proof of the power of silence, discipline, and genuine value. And if these lessons resonate with you, hit subscribe and join me on this journey toward wisdom and true success. Because as I always say, you can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. I'll see you in the next video. Let success speak for you. Life is not measured by what we have, but by who we become. See you in the next video.